Welcome to Stevens Reptiles, everyone. I'm David Stevens, and today I have a small western hognose snake that I'm going to demonstrate an easy way to help get your snake eating back for the first time after you've received them, or if you've had it for a while and it was starting to eat and then it stopped for whatever reason. I'm going to show you how to use the deli cup container that they came in, likely, to help get them back eating for you again. So most of the time, unless you're going to a show, if you're buying online, they're being sent through FedEx through air shipping. And they will likely come in a container similar to this, just some kind of a deli cup with air holes in the side, big enough for them to safely transport in. One of the issues with them when they first arrive is you've taken them from their environment they've had their whole life where they're comfortable, they're eating, they're established. They're put into a box. They ship them in the air and goes who knows how far or how they're handled along the way. And unfortunately, that's really the only way to buy them online other than going to the shows. There's a ride that was at a theme park that I was on before. It's at Busch Gardens in Williamsburg, and it makes me think of them every time I ship them. It was one of those simulator rides where you went into a stadium seating, and when you sat there, it made you feel like you were put in the box. I don't remember what the ride was, but the seats moved for you. They put you in a box. They put you on the back of a horse and you're riding and it's shaking you and it's flipping you upside down. It makes you feel horrible. That's what I imagine these guys go through, unfortunately. But when they do arrive to their new house and they're picked up and found to be safe, and they've always been found to be safe in my recollection or my experience. So once the new person gets them, they take them out, they're excited, they hold them for a little bit, they put them into a new enclosure. It might be similar to what they were before, but a lot of times I think people put them into a bigger enclosure, which can intimidate a little small snake like this. They might eat it first, they might start eating for a few times and then they stop. So what I'm going to show you here today, hopefully this will help and hopefully she'll eat and cooperate with me. Not saying she will, but I'll show you the steps that I would do in order to get them back eating again. Again, this is the deli cup that I ship them in. Of course, make sure it's big enough for the animal. You want it to be large enough for them to sit in there comfortably. I put some coarse sanded chips in the bottom for some cushion. For when they do move around, it gives them, they're not just bouncing around inside this container. But you don't want to have too big of a container because if they were dropped or jostled around, it could bang them around in the container. So a little bit tighter is better for shipping. And these are good for a while, especially for hognose when you first get them. So I'm going to go ahead and put this girl into the container and let's see if we can get her to eat. I've tried to zoom in and show her better so you can focus on her rather than me. And one thing about these square containers is they also have this easy access flip right here that allows you to put the food item in there. So I'll go ahead, and here is a already thawed pinky mouse, and let's see if we just stick it in there. So what that does is it keeps her confined right there with it. Even though the container is all clear and she can see through it, she should still be more interested in the mouse than get in the way because it's right there in her face the whole time. And while we're waiting to see if she is going to eat this mouse or not, this is just the steps that I would take to get them back eating again. You can leave this in their enclosure overnight. You don't have to worry about them hiding the prey item in the substrate or whether they ate it or not, and then you find it about a week later when it's smelling. You don't have to worry about them grabbing substrate while they're eating the mouse and then ingesting that, especially while they're first getting established. I recommend people feed them like this way for the first few times, unless they're keeping them in a type of quarantine container, which is small, probably about 5 to 10 inches wide, maybe around 12 to 15 inches long, with the right heat gradient on it. She might not eat here because she sees my hands moving around, and so it might distract her. Normally, when I feed them once a week, and that size prey item for her size. Now, most of the time, they eat it very quickly. They'll go ahead and start eating on it within under a minute. When they're this size, I don't regularly find that they take them off the feeding tongues. They do better when I leave it in the enclosure. As they get a little more size on them, they'll start taking it off the feeding tongues and you can dangle it in front of them. Sometimes that'll work on these guys too, but I found for the smaller size, it's better just to leave it in the enclosure and let them feel comfortable at their own pace, and they'll go ahead and do it. 99% of the time, except for when they're actively in shed, their eyes have turned blue, their bellies have kind of got that cloudy look to them, then they won't eat. But most other times, they'll readily eat, especially at this age. It's not like they're really going to go off feed unless there's something wrong with their enclosure environment. And like I mentioned before, if you have them in a quarantine type enclosure when you first get them that's smaller and with a paper towel bottom, so that way it's less distractions for them, that'll probably work better. I actually, when I first got my Hognose, I had the same thing. I got a male and a female. And when the male, after he had eaten about 4 months, he just all of a sudden stopped eating. But that's kind of not true. What happened was I moved him up from the smaller enclosure to a larger enclosure. And for whatever reason, it made him uncomfortable. He didn't feel as safe and secure. And for 2 months, he would not eat for me at all. Everything else the same, except for I put him in a larger enclosure with some decorations in it. And so what I did was I moved him back down to the size that I had him in when I first got him. And he ate within a few hours of me putting him back in that enclosure. So I kept him back in that smaller enclosure until he had about 8 more meals in him. And then I was able to move him back up to the larger enclosure. And then he stayed fine after that. And sometimes they just need a little more time and they need to feel safe and secure for them to go ahead and eat. I was waiting here to see if she was going to take the food here, but I don't normally ever feed them outside of their enclosures, so she is stimulated by seeing all the movement through that clear container. She's got her head right there at the mouse. So wrapping up, I was continuing to talk, but my storage was limited on my phone. I've got to upgrade to a better camera for these videos. She is likely not going to eat this right now, but I would leave this container in her enclosure. You can even leave it in there overnight with her. And 9 times out of 10, the next morning it's going to be gone. Again, this way you don't have to worry about getting any substrate on it, whether she ate it or not. If she goes away from it, she's confined right there to it, and you can see it there. And this is an easy way until they outgrow this container. If you're having issues with them taking it off the tongues or forceps, or just leaving it loose in their enclosure, this is the way that I would try in order to get them back eating again or eating for the first time once you've received them through the mail. Definitely appreciate you sticking around for the end of the video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.